Hello, you are now tuning into another episode of the Shine and Light podcast. And today we will be talking about something a little bit more personal. This is probably going to be my most vulnerable episode yet. And today, since we're a week away, today is going to be about love. Yep, today is going to be a love episode. But before we get into that, I have another journal entry slash poem for you guys today. So let's get into it. This poem is called It's Okay to Fall. What is it that you fear the most? Do you fear not standing guard on your post? Or do you fear others might get too close? Do you fear having nothing to post? Or that you might be too one note? The notes of your song are far from being too long, but off and on, the songs you feel are much to becoming of swans. So carry on. Carry the weight of the world. Carry the atlas. But this path is much too tragic. You fear being seen, even though a smile such as yours carries beams to those who have felt unseen, unheard, and words do little justice. But this new path, I'm not too well adjusted. Love is all around and around and around, which created this plane, 8 billion strong. But you feel it's wrong to feel. But you feel it's wrong to desire it. A firing of Cupid's arrow, but it's been mismatched by an ethos of arrows. Even pharaohs do not lay in pyramids and walls so thick. But fine love, yeah, that's rich. But even the cowardly lion crossed the yellow brick road. So take your pick. A picket fence is your defense. But even after a cloudy sky and clouded judgment comes a rainbow, which promise light. So let it reach in. Reconnect a world full of colors. Love for another, waiting for you to not just wonder and wander. A magical wand of thinking is a merry-go-round of shrinking down to such a hat trick small. But all in all, best to have wishes on the breaking of glaciers tall, and to fall not from grace, but replace that with faith. That love is worth it after all. Love is like a trust fall, and when God's involved, you have hands from mountain's peak call. So, fall. And that was this entry. So, I wrote that yesterday, and it, it was kind of a spur of the moment kind of thing, because I'm gonna be honest with you, love is a very dicey topic for me personally. It's something that I've had run-ins with, every now and again throughout my life, but it's not something that truly reached me personally. Like, to a degree, I can understand it, but the way that, our society frames it, and, how our society tries to, capitalize on it, it never struck me as something that is the way they taught it us. Because for me, I I love different. I feel different. And that's juxtaposition to the modern dating world. Um, I feel it more from a place of not just a feeling, or or I have it more towards a feeling rather than it being like something transactional. Um, oftentimes, like, because of how they frame dating, it it kind of manifested as perfectionism for me, where I feel like I kind of had to sit out dating because I feel like I had to be like the second coming of Christ. Like, I need to be, making this amount of money, or be this tall, or look this way, or have this thing. And, I just love different, and it's just not, and it's something that's kind of limited in the way that they view it. But for me, like, it's manifested into a lot of things for me. I so I I've learned stuff about love. I've learned stuff in terms of um, love languages and attachment theory, and things are more of like the inner workings of how someone would express it. But for me, how it is has been framed on social media and how it's framed in our society, for me it manifested as me having a fear of intimacy, a fear of vulnerability, a fear of being seen, a fear of being heard. And it's something that kind of wreaked havoc on my life and my connections, you know, friendships, any potential relationships, or relationships I have been in, whether that be IRL or online. Um, you know, but going back to the attachment theory thing, I've learned that my attachment is more of an insecure attachment. So I have uh, fearful avoidant attachment or disorganized attachment. And basically, um, so just to give you a little rundown of attachment theory, so there's, as far as I know, four types of attachments. There's secure attachment, which, doesn't, we don't really need to expound upon that. So secure attachment, and then you have insecure attachment, and those are three different types. So there's anxious attachment, the anxious preoccupied attachment, there's dismissive avoidant attachment, and then I have fearful avoidant attachment. So for anxious preoccupied attachment, that's more of like your clingy types, the ones that that are what you would call like codependent, right? the ones that would be like always worrying about their partner and want to be around them 24/7 and always trying to text them and waiting for calls like throughout the day and like all that type of stuff. Like very like I can't let you go type of people. So that's anxious preoccupied. Dismissive avoidant is more of like I feel like those are more like your stoic types. You know, the way that our society views like masculinity, for example, is more of like dismissive avoidant, where it's like, you know, you're more like independent, you're more strong, you're more like you feel like you don't really need people in like that type of way. It's more of like um people that are more like, oh my god, they're so manly, they don't need anybody. It's like that type. And the dismissive avoidants have a hard time like expressing emotions. Um, so there's that type, and then there's me, fearful avoidant. Um, So for fearful avoidant, it's kind of a combination of the anxious preoccupied type and the dismissive avoidant type. Um, so for the anxious preoccupied, that's more of like the heightened emotional response. You know, not necessarily like the clingy type, but more of just that heightened anxiety and worrying about, if things in the relationship are going well, if things are going as according to plan. And, there's a lot of like mental conflict that goes on with the anxious preoccupied type. And then you have the combination of the dismissive avoidant type to where you know, you feel like you have to do things like kind of independent, that you don't want to be a burden to other people with your emotional state that comes from that anxious preoccupied type, so you're more like withdrawn and like aloof. So with the fearful avoidant type, you kind of have that combination of that hot and cold, just um that push and pull. And it's very confusing to not only the people on the outside, but to yourself, to where a lot of times you're confused about your emotional state because, a lot of times people that kind of grow up in this society, especially if you look like me, people will look at me and be like, "Oh yeah, that's a man, right? That's a man." And I see myself as more like mask presenting, but I'm conditioned to not really be able to show vulnerability in the way that would actually be beneficial to me. So there's the fearful avoidant type, and it's it's kind of tough, um, to deal with. It kind of goes back to the reason why I have trouble sharing myself and sharing who I am, because who I am is I'm a lot of things, and a lot of the time I feel like I have to kind of like compartmentalize or like cut out parts of myself when I'm dealing with certain like different types of people, because there are certain parts of myself, and a lot of us do it, that there's certain parts of yourself that you feel safe to show to one group, and then there's another part of yourself you don't feel as safe sharing. Like I can be more like like say for like my friend group, I'm more like um more upbeat, more like I turn my energy up a lot. Um but there's a part of me that's more like, you know, that kind of likes being by myself, and that part is came from the manifestation of just being told that I can't feel a certain way. So I might have internalized a lot of that stuff. Um, so, you know, even me doing like stuff like this, being vulnerable, it's it's something I'm getting used to. It's something that doesn't come naturally to me. Like I'm someone who just like I look around and I see people like so easily like loving each other and dating each other and showing affection to their partner and like all that stuff, and I'm like, I'm absolutely perplexed. Like, how do people just feel so comfortable just putting themselves out there like that and not being scared of rejection and not being scared to be hurt? Because with me, I faced a lot of rejection from potential crushes or people that I would like, um, to the point to where I'm like, love the love thing. I'm like, I can take it or leave it. If I end up by myself for good, maybe that is what it is. Maybe that's the cards I was dealt, and I'm like, and when you really think about it, like when you say it out loud, it sounds like absolute insanity. Like, why do you feel like you have to be by yourself? Why do you feel like you have to be alone? Why do you feel like being single is better than allowing people in? You know? So, to any friend groups, family, like whatever, this is kind of the thing I've been dealing with. I've been dealing with trying to take off my layers of the mask that I've put up to function. And a lot of it comes from, it's like dysfunction, because I'm like, people, they'll, I'll spend so much time by myself that people will start asking questions like, where's where's Jared gone? Like, we're worried about them. We're worried about him. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to sort through the wreckage that is my internal state. So, it's something that a lot of us deal with. And um, you know, Valentine's Day is coming up, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm I'm one of my least favorite holidays for so many reasons. So many reasons. Like, I I can't stand Valentine's Day because, you know, I'm always single. I'm always by myself. And here's the thing, I blame nobody. I blame nobody for that. That is not on anyone else's, like, it's no one's fault. That's something that's on me to fix. Any of it, any attachment issues I have is on me to fix. It's not really someone else's job to fix it. So by me being on here and just telling you how I feel, it's me taking accountability for it. It's me giving you a peek into it. So when I'm more withdrawn, you have a little bit more of an understanding of why. But yeah, Valentine's Day, never liked it. For people that are in committed relationships that have a partner to go to you know be themselves, and let me not get it confused, because there are people in committed relationships that feel just as lonely as I do because, they didn't know themselves well enough to to get in a connection with the right person. So they could be in a connection right now that they wish they never like entertained it, because sometimes being in your own energy is like it's better just for you to get a better understanding of yourself as a person. But you know, so but Valentine's Day, it has a two-sided like thing. There's the more innocent part of it where it's more as like, showing love to your partner and getting them gifts and showing affection, and then it's just like, you know, that's great, For it's alien to me, foreign to me. I don't get it, and it that probably comes from me not understanding social cues. So there's probably people that I dealt I've been around that probably really had a crush on me or really liked me, but my brain never resonated that was a thing that could happen, back then or even now. Um, it just never occurred to me that like there's like there's a lot of nonverbal cues that someone will send when they're interested. Like for me, you gotta be real direct. If you like me, just come out and say it. You gotta be that direct, because I've spent so much time single that I don't I'm not my brain is not, doesn't resonate to me. But yeah, Valentine's Day, for couples, and they do the thing, and it's like that, the cutesy stuff. That's cool. Um, but there's a more insidious side of it, like with any U.S. holiday, where it's like, hey, we're cashing in. We're cashing in. We got the chocolates. We got the chocolates. We got the cards. We got the abs. We're gonna shove it in your face because love is a commodity, especially in a capitalist society where everything is transactional. Modern dating is transactional, and it's not something that I feel is genuine. So because I feel like a person in a committed relationship, is showing it, is usually showing you, the best that they can, that they love a person, that they love you, and you don't need a day to validate that. You don't need it one day to be that driving force. So um so yeah, Valentine's Day is not really my thing. So off of that topic, um I did talk about love languages. um I don't remember like all of them, but I know there's like words of affirmation, gift giving, there's quality time, there's uh, physical touch, and then there's another one that I forgot. Oh, acts of service. Yeah, acts of service. Those are the general love languages. And for neurodivergence, there's a whole nother set of love languages, right? There's body doubling, there's um, info dumping, uh, there's like, I don't know one, but I know one is like sharing art and like sharing songs and playlists and like all that type of stuff. Like that's more of like the neurodivergent ways of doing it. Cause like I don't know about you, but I can't flirt to save my life. I it just is awkward to me. Like saying like, "Hey, you look good." Like it's awkward. Like I don't know how to do that. I know how to be more like I know how to do it more indirect, until I get more comfortable with you. Then I could be a little bit more direct. But I don't, I'm not good at flirting. I'm not good at initiating any type of dating thing or, you know, just, taking that leap. I just don't know how to do that. It's something I need to work on, but it's love is at least romantic love is something that has always been a mystery to me. More platonic love, like friendship, and more like love, unconditional love you get from like pets and like going outside and like having nature and like having just the wonders and beauty of like that is like something more like I'm familiar with because it's something that, you know, it's kind of more unspoken where, romantic love is more of like action oriented and within the filter of like the transactional love. It's not something I really, am bored with, on board with. But I I come from a place of like loving more as, you know, as an like I like to treat romantic love as more of like an experience. You know, I'm grateful to I would like it say for example, I did have a partner. um I would just be grateful for the experience and just that this person is in my life, and has come along with me for the journey and is, loved me for who I am and not for what I can give to them. I just it's just like the transactional, like they gotta be making this amount of money and they gotta have this type of sex and they gotta look like this. It's just kind of shallow to me, So I've set a lot of romance out because it's just not for me in that way. I'm more about the experiences, spending quality time, and just getting to know a person, their intellect. And for me, I think I'm more of what you would call sapiosexual, demisexual. I fall in love with a person's mind first, and then I develop an emotional attachment, and then as we get closer, then I develop the physical attraction. Most of the people in our society, they fall in love with the physical first, and that's, I get it, like, um, I get it, but I could never just be feel driven to wanna, sleep with the person because they look good. That doesn't tell the full story. Uh, I won't get too much into that today, but yeah, you know, today today's episode is more on romance and love languages and just, my personal relationship as being a fearful avoidant who wants those loving connections, but it's I've always struggled with the fear of intimacy, vulnerability, and just just putting my being able to put my full self out there. So, um, to anyone that is single, that feels alone, like Trust me, I see you. I see you, and I relate to your struggle. You're not alone. Don't feel like you have to be someone for anybody else. Just really work on yourself and cultivate that self-love within you. And if you need therapy too, like, therapy is a good option. you know have people that can really understand your struggle, and that won't judge you because you lack a lot of the experience that other people do. you know it's it's not your fault. It's just we're in a society that's crafted to make people feel like they're the ones to blame. And we can be accountable in some degree, but the structure is crafted like that for a reason. So yeah, thank you for everyone that tunes into this episode today. And if you have any input on what I've said today, please let me know. And any resources that you can get, that you could provide to help people that feel the way I do, just be sure to just reach out and just let me know. All right. This has been the Shine and Light podcast, and you guys have a good day. Peace.